Welcome to the Inside Disc Golf YouTube channel. If you don't know who I am, I have been posting on Reddit in the Inside Disc Golf Reddit user page power rankings for the MPO and FPO fields after each major event of the Disc Golf Pro Tour. Now, my power rankings are personal and I do use some numbers as well. Most of the time, I look at recent events and weigh them heavier than older events in the season and even older history. What makes my power ranking unique is how I analyze the trends that each player is on, which allow them to move up and down my power ranking, and the format I have my power rankings in. I do my power rankings in two categories, my front nine and my back nine. My front nine are going to be the top 9 players on tour right now. They are the hottest players in the season and have performed the best and most consistent results lately or throughout the entire season, while the back 9 are potential players who could one day reach the top 9, possibly within the season, and they're more consistent but aren't getting those top 10 finishes as consistently as the front 9. So today we are going to be doing the power ranking post the Dynamic Disc Open. The Dynamic Disc Open was a very interesting event to watch. High wins, higher scores than normal, and high surprises. We'll find out who won that event and who is ranked number 1 in my power rankings right about now. Looking at my front 9, I want you to guess who could be in my back 9, and if anyone else deserves to be up here in the front 9 that I might have it wrong, give me 3 names that you think are in my back 9 and see if you can guess what position they will be at. So I'm going to separate the MPO power rankings into tiers. And in tier 1, we have a debate on who is the number 1 player on tour. We have Ricky Wysocki, Chris Dickerson, and Heavenheimer. Now, Ricky is my top player so far in the season. He came off a victory at the Dynamic Disc Open, placed 10th at Jonesboro, and 2nd at Champions Cup. These are the 3 most recent events he has done. He has 2 victories in the year, Dynamic Disc Open and Texas State. And he has only placed once outside of the top 10 in any of the Disc Golf Pro Tour events this year and the Major of Champions Cup. And that was over at Waco, where he placed 12th. Now, what separates him from Chris Dickerson and Heavenheimer? So let's look at Chris Dickerson next, at number 2. Chris Dickerson finished 8th at the Dynamic Disc Open, while Calvin finished 10th. Obviously, Calvin won Jonesboro, taking 1st place, while Chris Dickerson took 4th. But here is the difference maker, I believe, between Chris Dickerson and Heavenheimer in my rankings. Chris Dickerson won Champions Cup, which was a major, which has significant more points than I would say a normal Disc Golf Pro Tour event. Meanwhile, Calvin finished 3rd, just behind Ricky and Chris. I think that is going to be the closest to where we could potentially rank them based on those numbers alone. If you look further into Chris Dickerson, he has 2 Silver Series events, which were the only 2 events he has played so far in this year in the Silver Series. And he has only finished 1 time outside of the top 10, and that was 12th at the Las Vegas Challenge in the first event of the year. Meanwhile, Calvin had 4 podium finishes, and he has also only finished 1 time outside of the top 10, and that was at 18th place at Waco. So as you can see, the top 3 are very close to each other in the power rankings, and literally the next Disc Golf Pro Tour event, if any of these guys take it down, it might propel them all the way to 1st place with how close they are in the power rankings. But right now we have Ricky, Chris, and Calvin. Alright, let's go to tier 2 of my front 9, where we would have Paul Mcbeth, Gannon Burr, and Matty O. Let's go on with Paul. Now, Paul is ranked at 4th, which is debatable, which is actually really surprising to hear that that's debatable that he's at 4th. And not actually lower. But what's been saving him is he has that 1 victory at Waco, which propels him to the 4th place. He has not been as consistent as lately, but even still, his rounds have been pretty good overall, being able to maintain a high finish. Paul Mcbeth finished 51st at the Dynamic Disc Open, 2nd at Jonesboro, and 9th at Champions Cup. He won Waco and has finished 10th, except for that latest event at Dynamic Disc Open, where he had probably his worst performance in recent time. And his biggest issue has been those really bad rounds that have lowered his score, not allowing him to finish higher, like when we look at events like Jonesboro and Champions Cup. Meanwhile, Gannon Burr, who is ranked 5th right now, has been a more consistent top 10 finisher, finishing at 10th at Dynamic Disc Open, 5th at Jonesboro, and 5th at Champions Cup. He has placed in the top 10 at all events besides Waco, coming close at Las Vegas Challenge, finishing 2nd after that awesome playoff with Drew Gibson. But unfortunately, he has no victory, and it kind of hurts him a little bit in the power ranking. But I don't know. I feel like he's on the verge of one victory, and we might see it here in the West Coast wing. Expect him to be a big player here in the next 2 events, especially at the Portland Open. Meanwhile, Matty O has missed quite a bit of events, but he is one of the most consistent finishers on tour. He finished 6th at Jonesboro and 5th at Masters Cup, tying Gannon Burr. Unfortunately, he was out with COVID for the Dynamic Disc Open after the first round, while he was playing really well and was looking to finish top 10 once again. 15th place at Texas State was Matty O's worst performance of the year. Alright, let's move on to the next 3. We have James Conrad, Joel Freeman, and a bit of a surprise and a bit of a hot take, Simon Lafot. Now, let's start with James Conrad. He's also been very consistent this year. He has finished 10th at Dynamic Disc Open, 15th at Jonesboro, and 11th at Champions Cup. His highest placement of the year has been 4th place at Texas State, and he has only finished 1 time outside of the top 15. Meanwhile, Joel Freeman had his worst performance yet at the Dynamic Disc Open, finishing in 26th place. He finished 6th place at Jonesboro and 14th at Champions Cup. Joel Freeman placed top 5 in his first 2 Disc Golf Pro Tour events of the year, but looks to be slowing down just a bit in the latest events. Look forward to seeing him go up again once we reach the Midwest. Then on 9th, the final person in my front 9 is Simon Lafot. Now, the reason why it's controversial in a way is he hasn't played a lot of events this year, so it's a big jump from where many people might have him at. You got to look at his trend that he's been working on, and especially the last 2 finishes he has done. He finished 2nd at the Dynamic Disc Open. He finished 6th at Jonesboro, and he finished 35th at Champions Cup. It's been an upward trajectory since the first event that he played this year, where he played 60th at Waco on that first event. So he went from 60th to 35 to 6th to 2nd in his 4 events. Could he continue that trend and win the next event? The biggest question with Simon is he looks like he's back. Like, we have Simon of old days back in the modern tour. He looks healthier, and I hope he can continue this trend and we get to see him the full season from here until the Disc Golf Pro Tour Championship. Alrighty, here are my back 9. Did you guess any of these and then get them in the correct placement? And who of these people do you think should be up in the front 9? So let's go through these ones a little bit quicker. We obviously know how talented these players are and how at any week they can place top 10, top 5, podium finish, or win in any of these events and propel themselves up into my front 9. In the first tier, we have Kevin Jones, Drew Gibson, and Nicolo Castro. Now, Kevin Jones finished 17th at the Dynamic Disc Open, 3rd at Jonesboro, and 22nd at Champions Cup. He has placed top 25 in all the events this year, averaging a finish about 15th place. Meanwhile, Drew Gibson had a very hot start to the year, winning Las Vegas Challenge. He took some time off, and he's been in that mid-tier ever since returning. He finished 26th at the Dynamic Disc Open, 30th at Jonesboro, and 10th at Champions Cup. We're looking forward to seeing Drew Gibson out in the Open and seeing if he can get another victory or bring his trajectory upwards and move up the rankings. Nicolo Castro is another consistent player. He finished 15th at Jonesboro and 30th at Masters Cup. Besides Masters Cup, he has finished top 15 in all his events, and his best finish came at 10th place at Waco. Alright, let's move on to this next tier, which features a lot of young players that are looking to prove themselves again after some really good events last year. Mason Ford, Kyle Klein, and Ezra Aderhold. Mason Ford finished 21st at the Dynamic Disc Open, 13th at Jonesboro, and 14th at Champions Cup. He has been top 21 if you include this Dynamic Disc Open, at all Disc Golf Pro Tour major and events, but has yet to make it into the top 10. Next we have Kyle Klein, 13th at Dynamic Disc Open, 15th at Jonesboro, and 27 at Champions Cup. He's been top 25 in all his events besides that Champions Cup finish, and he's showing an upward trajectory since that event. I think we're going to start seeing Kyle's name up there once we reach the Midwest, since these courses are pretty much new for him this year, and I feel like he plays better on courses he's been on before. Next, we have Ezra Aderhold. Now, Ezra had a very hot start to last year, which brought his name up into my power rankings, but he's been kind of on and off on my power rankings since then. But he's finally showing that consistency we hoped from him. He finished 30th at the Dynamic Disc Open, 10th at Jonesboro, and 14th at Champions Cup. And he's been picking up his game lately from a bad Texas swing performance. Let's hope to see Ezra perform really well in these next few events. Alright, my final tier for my back 9. Thomas Gilbert, Anthony Barrella, and Chris Clement. Thomas Gilbert finished 17th at the Dynamic Disc Open, 10th at Jonesboro, and 44th at Champions Cup. He has 3 top 10 finishes, and he's been a very up and down player. So hopefully here we get to see him go up, up, and up again, instead of that up and down trajectory he's been performing at. Anthony Varela is also pretty new to my power ranking. We obviously know he's a very talented player, but his performances can also be up and down. He finished 24th at the Dynamic Disc Open and 20th at Jonesboro. And then on his last event before that was at the Las Vegas Challenge, where he finished 21st. So we only had 3 data points for him in the season, but they've been pretty consistent at around that 20th mark. And hopefully he can turn it on here in these open courses and finish higher. And then finally in our power rankings we have Chris Clement. He finished 17th at the Dynamic Disc Open, 31st at Jonesboro, and 27th at Champions Cup. He had 1 podium finish in the year, and that was at Waco. Chris Clement is a very consistent player on that lower end, where we're like in the top 20, top 30 area, and which allows him to be in the power ranking. He doesn't have a lot of really bad performances that would drop him out of these rankings. So there you have it. These are my top 18 players in the MPO field. So obviously my power ranking is debatable. You might not agree with all of them. You might have differing opinions. Obviously there's other power rankings out there that are going to have different rankings than my own. If you have any feedback, hopefully positive, negative, as in you want to debate my ranking, if you have any feedback, let me know in the comments. I appreciate it. I appreciate that you watched this video, the first attempt. I hope to get better as I grow the channel. Make sure you leave a like, subscribe to the channel. It actually took quite a bit of for me to get in the camera. I've been doing this for a year now, just typing it up, hiding behind my keyboard, and I decided, go ahead, it'll be easier for me to explain my thoughts. Right now, this is the first initial ranking on video that I do, and future rankings, I'll probably go into more detail as to why certain movement was done. I'll have an up and down, I'll show some names in red, some names in green, and future names that I'm looking at who could rise in the rankings. Like right now, we have a few honorable mentions, like Casey White, Corey Ellis, and Emerson Keith. Players that could eventually reach the power rankings and are just outside of it. And I will also be doing a video for the FPO coming soon. I feel like normally, since I'm trying to do a lot of catch up, my MPO and FPO videos will be on the same video in the future. But right now, I'm going to do 2 separate videos to give them their adequate time for the first power rankings that I do on video. I have a few Dynamic Disc Open Spotlight players who perform really well, but are not, until they finish more consistently, will not be in my power rankings. We have Jake Heavenheimer, hopefully I said that right, Logan Harpool, and GT Hancock. These players performed really well at the Dynamic Disc Open and deserve a shout out. Thank you for watching my video, and have a good day.